I'm a female, 18, and I'm going through a really difficult moment. Not that I had an easy life previously, my parents' narcissism and their golden child have made life difficult for me throughout the years. Mandy, my 24-year-old sister, is my older sister. She's the source of all my problems. I can't remember my childhood without my parents' bias against Mandy. I never had a pleasant childhood because of them. I wouldn't characterize my sister as a bully, but she is cunning and opportunistic. She did not miss an occasion to play on our parents' emotions and achieve her goals. I don't blame her, though. She is my mother's eldest child and holds a particular place in my parents' hearts because of the way they made things. Hey, I'm their daughter too. I understand that my parents have a favorite child, and that's okay as long as you don't make the other feel unwelcome. My parents caused me to live a wretched life by doing that. I thought of myself as the house's spare heart. Since most of my sister's clothing was too fresh to be thrown away, I mainly got to wear it. Again, why should they waste money on new toys when my sisters were still in good shape? So I played with her things. I recall that I only received a new dress at Christmas, and even then, it was only because they didn't want me to look awful in front of Grandpa and the other guests. I used to receive one set of dresses, shoes, and other accessories for Christmas, while my sister received as many as she desired, so as to avoid being judged by friends and family. It's true, but secondhand, that Mom would say to me if I ever grumbled about it, "Don't be impatient, your sister's stuff is going to come to you next year." When I was younger, I accepted their reasoning, but as I grew older, I became upset about it. I was grounded for misbehaving, or I was informed we couldn't afford new sets for me. Mom never even asked me what I wanted for supper, let alone made my favorite dish. Whether it was Thanksgiving, Christmas, or any other holiday, it was always about my sister. The food is tailored to her preferences. I once had a fit about it, refused to eat, and left the dinner table angrily. Until I apologized to everyone and finished doing the dishes for the entire week, I was grounded and starving. I know it's so exhausting to tell my stories of pain, but that's just the way it is. And you know why my parents treat me like this, especially my mother? Because of her sister, that is. Having grown up with narcissistic parents, my mother made it her goal to become one herself. Do you see the irony here? Out of her two siblings, my mother is the oldest. She claims that her parents severely spoilt her and pampered the younger child. Mom chose to spoil the older girl instead of the younger one because she was raised by biased parents. I get the impression that my mother treats my sister the way she would like to be treated as a child and sees herself in her. Do you recognize that feeling? I became so bitter towards my parents and sister by the time I graduated from elementary school that I began spending my summers with my grandfather. The only one who really loved me was him. I believe my grandfather disapproved of my mother because he could see through her absurd actions. Perhaps that's why he supported me consistently. I was invited to visit with Grandpa at his farm the year I finished elementary school. I had never felt so liberated and at ease as I did when I was released. Grandpa fulfilled all of my requests. I'm sorry to say it, but I took full advantage of it. I made requests for gowns, Barbies, dollhouses, video games, and everything else I could not find at home. However, my parents failed to understand it. I cherished our time together on his property in the middle of the forest. He owned a modest stable with 4 or 5 horses as well as a poultry farm. He worked on those all day long. I never wanted to go back home since those few days we spent together were so much pleasure. I insisted on being admitted to a high school close to my grandfather so I could live with him when it was time for me to start my education. It pleased my parents no end to have me gone. So, starting with my first year of high school, Grandpa was tolerated. It was necessary for both of us. I needed a vacation from my toxic family, and he needed assistance as he aged. Grandpa became ill when I was a junior in high school. Perhaps sensing that his time was almost over, he summoned everyone and revealed his intentions. 2 of my uncles received his farm and stable from him. He gifted my dad $150,000 in cash and savings, of which $75,000 was designated for me to use towards my college education. He forced me to swear that I would finish my college degree. Mom scowled since Dad only had a few grandchildren and others had farms and properties. Dad had already taken possession of his portion of the property, sold it to cover his debt, and started a business, Grandpa recalled. Grandpa passed away right before my senior year of high school. My life's saddest day was that one. I have no one to rely on now. I had to return to my parents' house. It was unpleasant, both they and I detested it. I begged my parents for my $75,000 that Grandpa left for me as my graduation date drew closer. I had to complete the application for college. That is when the issue arose. They would make weird faces and ignore me whenever I questioned about my finances or brought up the college. She responded by saying that they had handed the money to my sister for her company when I lost patience and questioned them, "What's the matter? Where's my money? How the F*** is that? I was meant to use the money for my college education. They claim it's not a huge deal and I can wait a year as I'm not old enough to attend college." When they were unable to argue with me, I asked them to give them a year to pay my college tuition. I replied, "Hello, how can I be young for college when my classmates of the same age are getting admission? I don't know what choices I have to get the money back," so I replied, "Why can't the golden child wait for a year to start her business? I can't waste a year. Any recommendations?" To begin with, OP, I am deeply sorry for your loss. Second, it appears that financial malfeasance is mixed in with the golden child phenomenon in your family. How considerate of them to put money into her future while letting yours gather dust. When you can only enjoy the bright light of the golden child's prosperity, who needs an education anyway? You might want to consider getting legal counsel if your parents won't cooperate or if you think they're breaching your rights. You may pursue legal action to reclaim your education funds, and a lawyer can assist you in understanding your alternatives. Or perhaps, if it's feasible, discuss the circumstances with your sister. It's possible that she is unaware of how accepting the money will affect you. Perhaps she can also make your parents feel pressured to make things right. Music, first situation update * in the past many months, a lot has occurred. I was told to wait a year by my parents. I pressed them for the money even though I didn't agree. They were upset with me and labeled me as conceited and cruel. They are deceiving everyone. In addition to this, my sister Mandy has launched an effort to paint me in a negative light. When my cousin told me that Mandy was telling everyone that I was jealous of her and wanted money from her, I lost it. I threatened to tell everyone that they had defied Grandpa's wishes and given their useless daughter my college tuition if they don't give me my money. I warned Mom. Mom was furious and responded, "Do you want to go to that level? You better pay us and have your own meal. Calculate the money we spend on you for 18 years, we are even." I responded by saying, "What the hell? They're still feeding their elder daughter who's 24, divorced with a child, and here they are being so mean and not giving me my money. I have always got good grades, but they've never been proud of me, while their golden child brought shame to them, yet they're having her back." Yes, I forgot to write about my sister. My sister got hitched by her fiancé and became pregnant when I was living with Grandpa. It was too late to get rid of it by the time she tested it. She needed to let my parents know about it. Although they were disappointed, there wasn't really anything they could do. Her mother, a devout Christian, arranged for her to marry her partner. Both of them were opposed to marriage, but Mandy's mother had left her with no other option. In any case, her partner was a douche who had no desire to get married and raise a family. However, my parents pursued him after the infant. He left my sister and her child behind. He had proof that my sister had abused him emotionally, despite my parents' best efforts to apprehend him. On this basis, he filed for divorce. She had to be brought back home by my parents. Since Grandpa passed away, they have been looking after Mandy and her child. Upon my return home, I discovered that Mom is the child's primary carer while Sister is frequently away. Dad would occasionally become enraged with Mandy for abandoning her child to care for Mom. Mom rushed to her aid, telling her that Mandy was out since she was too busy looking for a job for herself. That is untrue. I frequently witnessed her hanging out with lads in the local parks and cafes. Since she dropped out of school, she is having problems getting a DE. I could not give a damn. She begged her mother for the money to launch her firm when she was unable to find employment. In spite of all of this, my parents continued to back her. They handed her the cash without consulting me first. I had no idea other than asking them how I could get my money back until I made this post. I threatened to sue them for breaking Grandpa's will the next time I requested for the money, and they refused. Their expressions paled as they realized I was no longer the girl they could take advantage of. I had already begun to stop their exploitation after I got back from Grandpa's, and they lost their sh*t when I threatened to sue them for money. For them, it was unreal. I was no longer the naive and defenseless young child. Mom took out a notepad and wrote down all the money they had spent on me each month. That woman, put a quarter of the cost on my account in addition to the Christmas dress school price. I was amazed as she doodled it, and when she was done, I stormed out of the home with Mom, saying, "Forget about the $75K, you owe us $200K. Pay us before asking for your dang $75K. I spent an hour hanging about the neighborhood before catching a bus to my grandpa's house, where my uncle currently resides. I obtained Grandpa's lawyer's number and asked to see his diary. I gave him a call and laid out the circumstances. I inquired as to whether he might assist me. He told me that everyone gets what is specified in the will and that I am entitled to the $75,000 that my grandfather left for me. He threatened to sue my parents if they didn't pay the money, saying he would issue them a formal notice. What a relief that is. They will receive the notice in a week. While I'm grateful for the assistance, I'm also concerned about what my parents will do when they receive the notice. Who knows what they'll do to me? God knows. You're stuck in the middle of this family drama, trying to reclaim what's rightfully yours while avoiding emotional landmines left and right, while your sister is playing the part of the golden child turned single mom turned entrepreneur extraordinaire, and your parents are passing out gaslighting like it's candy on Halloween. Thank goodness you could get in touch with your grandfather's attorney. To be honest, what better expression of unconditional love is there than to remind your child of every penny you have ever spent on them, treating them more like an onerous investment than a beloved child? I apologize, but the way they expect you to pay them back for the honor of growing up under their care, as if you requested to be born in the first place, is almost ludicrous. Update on Situation 2 *, it will be smaller than the last one. I just wanted to let you all know that my folks are going to kick my butt. You guys were so accurate. I was mentally ready for what was about to happen. I discussed sharing the condo with my friend. I started working part-time at a cafe. They let me take some leftover food at closing hour, but the money is extremely little. The day before the notification arrived, I had already packed my possessions. As was to be expected, when my mother got the lawyer's notice, she ejected me. She threw my belongings out of the house and mistreated me. I erred by delaying my move and giving them the satisfaction of throwing me out. She claimed that because I lived off of their money and had plans to bite and backstab them, I was similar to a snake that they had been feeding in their backyard. I screamed that they had left me with no choice and that their narcissism must not be allowed to put my life and career in danger. My parents are ready to go beyond the 1-month deadline that the lawyers set for them to reply to the notification. The fact that Mindy called and berated me for giving the family a hard time makes me believe they aren't taking it seriously. She added, "I don't have the money to sue them, so I can't do anything about the parents not giving me a penny." I kept my cards hidden from her. When I could take it no more, I hung up on her after listening to her quietly. After I told my lawyer, he assured me that if they don't reply by the end of the next week, we can definitely sue them. Update 3, my parents sued me, and I got a lot of backlash. To be honest, I was reluctant to accuse them of any felony, but they left me with no other option. I had assumed that the lawyer's notification would suffice, but they ignored the demand of the lawyer. I returned home and warned them that if they didn't follow Grandpa's wishes, I would have to take legal action. They united against me and insulted me. Even my mother hurled objects at me. I thought I would take some of the non-essential goods later, so I had left them at home. In an attempt to harm me, Mom took it out of my wardrobe and broke it into confetti in front of me. They seemed to be looking for a ride, but I was there to resolve the issue without getting into legal trouble. When I returned, I instructed my attorney to file charges against them, and he gladly complied. They became alarmed upon receiving the court order. My mother phoned me and stated there really wasn't a need for a court battle because we could resolve the family matters between us. I went home to take care of the family business, but they were the ones who became antagonistic towards me and gave me no other option. Now that the ship has sailed, they must go by the law. I refused to make any concessions. When Dad was required to pay the $75,000 as stipulated in Grandpa's will during the court proceedings, he relaxed his guard and produced his bank statement, demonstrating his limited financial resources. He promised to pay $10,000 a month, but my attorney countered that $10,000 a month is insufficient because I need that money for college tuition. The lawyer mandated that Dad would be responsible for covering my tuition as well as additional expenses, such as lodging and meals, up to a minimum of $75,000. If I spend more than that, I'm on my own. If I spend less than $75,000, Dad would be responsible for the remaining balance. Though I didn't particularly enjoy the thought of continuously relying on him for financial support, I had no other option. In reality, Dad didn't have $75,000 to give me all at once. I refused to accept this compromise, but my father begged me with moist eyes, swearing he would not back down. Eventually, I gave in. But in that instance, I warned him that I would sue him and Mom again, demanding payment for the mental anguish if they made any noise about it in the future. He concurred. Mandy and Mom followed after me in the interim. Mandy has been telling everyone that by taking the family to court, I have made my parents' blood pressure go up and embarrassed the whole family. Herein lies the irony. She wasn't dishonored when she was knocked out, but I brought dishonor to the situation by just requesting my personal money. Whoa, what's up? I no longer give a damn about it. I suppose I'm content with being the black sheep now that they've called me that. It seems that your parents have chosen to settle family conflicts in an unorthodox way. There's nothing like a good old-fashioned court battle to strengthen family ties. Who needs family counseling when you can resolve your conflicts in court, really? Thanks to your dad's sudden generosity and the judicial system's ability to turn family dysfunction into cash settlements, at least you now have a court-ordered education fund. Who says your trauma can't be made profitable? Regarding Mandy and her rumor mill, well, every family has a drama queen, don't they? It appears she has discovered her calling. However, if being the oddball leads to opportunities for self-defense and future security, then go ahead and rock that woolly cloak. Update 4. Hi everyone, I apologize for the extended wait for an update. I was occupied with adjusting to my new life in college. I received all A's when I finished high school. Even though I knew my parents wouldn't attend, I nevertheless sent them convocation invitations. To my surprise, Dad turned up. For the first time, he expressed his happiness and expressed his pride in me. It took him 18 years and a legal battle to recognize that I was his daughter as well and that I too required his love and attention. Not important just now. I've moved on from it. I moved into my college dorm after quitting my job at the cafe. My father gives me money for food, housing, and college tuition. After that, I'm by myself. I started working a part-time job close to the university. In exchange for some extra cash, I also tutor my classmates in math. My arithmetic skills are strong. Really a flex, huh? Dad has been following the court's instructions and sending the money on time. A few of you inquired about my relationship with Dad and his whereabouts throughout the period when my mother was mistreating me. Thus, this is it. To me, Dad was non-existent. Dad could see that everything was wrong with me, but he decided to ignore it. He disregarded my issues and never asked Mom why she behaved the way she did. He followed Mom's instructions. In fact, he thought Mom did well in using my sister's clothes for me, as it seemed like Mom was hoarding money during my early years. I've witnessed Dad's financial struggles. He is therefore open to any chance to save money. Thus, as you can see, he was always there for Mom. Furthermore, I'm not clear how he responded to Mandy's surprise pregnancy. I learned what little I do know from cousins and other relatives. Mandy's wedding was so secretive that not even I knew when it took place. As previously mentioned, I was living with Grandpa at the time, so I didn't give a damn about what was going on in my home. I'm overjoyed to provide an update on my current circumstances. I'm pursuing my dream of going to college and getting excellent grades. After the court case, my dad and I have a better connection now. Mom and Mandy continue to berate me, paint me in a negative light, and portray me as the villain. However, they had to deal with their own garbage sooner. Mandy ran into issues with the police. They lost the money they had lent Mandy. Mandy had set up a covert gambling operation inside a gaming zone. My parents were unaware of it. They mistook it for a real gaming parlor. However, the police apprehended her and took everything. Every piece of machinery and equipment was taken. My parents utilized what little money she had in her bank account to save her. She is ultimately left with nothing. She had spent Grandpa's hard-earned money in that way. To be really honest, I couldn't be happier. I felt bad, deep down, about shoving Dad to the corner so I could receive my money. I'm relieved that I retaliated because Mandy wasn't justified in using that money. She launched her homework in the gaming industry. Dad threw her out of the house following that run-in with the law and the prison sentence. Mom made an effort to speak up for her, but Dad gave Mom an option. Either Dad or Mandy, is it? Given that Mom is unemployed, it is clear that she selected Dad and requested Mandy to find employment and move out. Up until that gambling incident, Mandy had been successful in emotionally manipulating Dad to allow her to dwell in the house by means of her child. However, I've since heard that Dad has kicked her out and is no longer putting up with her BS. God knows how long she will live with her friend, even though she does now. She hasn't asked for my assistance. After everything that she and Mom had done to me, how could she? I hope she doesn't come near me. I have no qualms with embarrassing her even more. I was reading my first post today before making this update, and it brought tears to my eyes. That was really a horrible time for me. My grandpa, my pillar of support, had just passed away. My grandparents' inheritance was stolen from me by my parents. Because of my narcissistic parents, I was kept captive in my own home and was not allowed to attend college. My future was filled with so much uncertainty that all I could see was gloom and powerlessness. But a big thank you to everyone in this community for their support. Grandpa is still missed by me. He's the reason I'm a college student today. He is my angelic guardian. No matter where he is, I know he's blessing me. Well, look how things have changed around now. I guess Dad has finally made up his mind to attend your graduation. It must have come as a huge surprise to him to learn he had a daughter besides Mandy. It took him sufficiently long. However, we must not overlook the wonderful old Mandy and her spontaneous gaming adventure. Ah, the age-old story of the golden child turned underground. Gambling magnate. Who knew the stakes for dysfunctional families could be so high? Hey, at least she's finally being kicked out of the family nest thanks to her own poor choices. It's true that karma is a gambler's gamble. Happy living your best life despite all the odds, OP. What do you think? We appreciate you coming here today.